Shalom everyone, Parshiyot Matot-Mas'ei, Tafshin Peivav. Throughout the Jewish world, it has become the accepted custom to read the entire Torah publicly over the course of the Shabbatot of the year. Each Shabbat, a haftarah from the prophets, the Nevi'im, is also read, usually chosen because it relates to that week's parasha. At certain times in the cycle of the year, however, the haftarah is selected to reflect that time rather than the weekly parasha. During the 3 weeks, the central period of the Jewish year devoted to the mourning of the destruction of the first and second Batei Mikdash, the haftarot are chosen to reflect the season rather than the weekly parasha. But this is not entirely accurate. Why? Because the Parshiyot themselves are not read during this time by coincidence. The rabbis intentionally arranged for the Parshiyot of Matot-Mas'ei and Dvarim to be read during these weeks. When we examine the content of these Parshiyot, we understand why. What do we find in these Parshiyot? In Parashat Matot, Bnei Israel begins settling the eastern side of the Jordan River. But Moshe Rabbeinu insists that those who settle there must first go as pioneers before their brothers, helping them free and settle the west side of the Jordan. In Parashat Mas'ei, Bnei Israel's long journey finally reaches its destination, Eretz Yisrael. Then we receive the mitzvah to settle the land. You shall take possession of the land and dwell in it. We are taught the boundaries of Eretz Yisrael, the names of the tribal leaders responsible for dividing it, and the commandments concerning the Levitical cities and the cities of refuge. Alongside these comes a solemn warning never to treat bloodshed lightly, for if we do, we endanger our very ability to remain in Eretz Yisrael. Then on the final Shabbat of the 3 weeks, just before Tisha B'Av, we begin reading the book of Dvarim. These are Moshe Rabbeinu's final words to Am Yisrael before he leaves us. The next generation is about to enter Eretz Yisrael without him. And throughout the book of Dvarim, not only Parashat Dvarim, Moshe teaches us how Am Yisrael can live in Eretz Yisrael for generations, and he warns us what kinds of behavior may ultimately lead to exile. Let us recall only one well-known pasuk from Sefer Dvarim, from Parashat Ekev, where Moshe explains the purpose of all of the commandments in Sefer Dvarim, so that your days and the days of your children may be multiplied upon the land that Hashem swore to your fathers to give them. Leman yirbu yemeichem v'yimei v'nechem ala adama. And what do we find in the haftarot of the 3 weeks? In the first haftarah, Yirmiyahu teaches that Hashem sometimes uproots and destroys, and at other times builds and plants. He also recalls the devotion of Am Yisrael in the wilderness, when we followed Hashem into the desert, and therefore declares that whoever seeks to harm Am Yisrael will ultimately bring evil from Hashem upon himself. In the second haftarah, we read how Hashem brought us into a rich and fertile land, Eretz Yisrael, but we defiled his land through abominable deeds. In the third haftarah, Yeshayahu rebukes us. Hashem raised us as his children, yet we rebelled against him. He established Yerushalayim to be a city of justice and righteousness, yet we filled it with murder and bribery. But Yeshayahu also proclaims a message of hope. When Yerushalayim again becomes a city of justice, redemption will return. Thus, both the Torah Parshiyot and of the 3 weeks and their accompanying haftarot present the same broad vision. Bnei Israel enter and settle Eretz Yisrael while walking in Hashem's ways, and the tragic vision of destruction and exile when Am Yisrael abandons this path. Both themes appear in the Torah and in the Nevi'im, the prophets, yet each is coming from a unique perspective. The Torah, including these Parshiyot, speaks from the very beginning, from the creation of the world and the birth of Am Yisrael, setting forth the entire pattern of history and looking at it from the beginning for the rest of history, all that may happen and will ultimately happen. The prophets, by contrast, live within history itself. They witness its triumphs and failures, its redemption and its collapse, and they tell us all of this is happening because of what Hashem taught us in his Torah from the very beginning. Yet the prophets also look ahead. They teach that if we seek a future of greatness, restoration, and redemption, we must remain faithful to Hashem and to His Torah. We must learn from everything that has already happened, from what the Torah taught us at the very outset, and from what the prophets teach us along the way, so that we may ultimately complete the journey and merit redemption, Geula.